Previously on building Benny's movie park. Look, and then now I hopefully can just do this to finish the whole structure. Okay, actually, I think that is not even that bad. It is pretty bad. It's just not as bad as I thought. Let me pop that on there, make it nice and big. There you go. So now it goes... it goes in and out. The vibe is there. That is probably the only good thing about it. Everything else is just... it's just not it. Gentlemen, welcome back to building Benny's movie park in Planet Coaster. My apologies for the delay, but today we're finally going to start building the Indiana Jones area. It is going to be on the right hand side in the back, just like the original Benny's movie park. And I'm not really going to start with explaining what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do it. So really, without any further ado, let's get straight to it. For my first initial idea, we need to get rid of the water, so just like this. There you go. Because we are going to kind of change this up entirely. Let's kind of make this high again like it used to be. Like that. Something like this should be alright. Then let's put the water back in, just like this. So now we have a kind of canal effect. And then this is where things are going to change quite a lot. Let's make this entire piece of land nice and high. Just as high as the base of the castle, basically. All the way towards the edge. Because I'm not sure if I already explained this in a previous episode, but this is going to be like a cliff kind of section. Going to be very high, very steep, very tall. To really turn this into a sort of canyon effect. Indiana Jones has plenty of canyon-like landscapes, so we definitely need this. So let me just pull up this entire piece of land until it's nice and high up, which also is going to look real nice next to the Jurassic Park area, I think. We just have to make sure that this doesn't happen. This needs to stay open. There you go. Yeah, that's better. In general, all this overhang has to be just normal. There you go. We can fix that later, though. Just a nice tall ridge all behind this, connecting to the big mountain that's over here. So it all kind of just makes sense now. Oh, that looks very satisfying, actually. This is actually taking quite a bit longer than I thought it would, but at least it works. It's gonna make this whole section of land a lot higher. There you go. This looks very strange. I won't lie. Look, and then with the flattening tool, we can just make the whole area nice and level. Isn't that just perfect? It immediately looks like a cliff now too, with the sharp edge. That is actually really good. Just like this. This texture, by the way, is just temporary. Obviously, it should not look like this. It kind of looks like a beehive. I don't even know. So I think this is a decent start as far as the shape goes. Of course, we can extend it further later, but for now, I don't really know what the area is going to look like yet. So I think this is good. Now let's have a look at the texture, because obviously this is not it. There's this, which as you can see is very, very red. I think it's a bit too red. I mean, it works for a canyon, but it's more supposed to be like a desert sort of canyon. And so I think this is a bit too much. However, we can of course decrease the intensity and put it over the rock. There, that's already a lot better. Maybe the other way around. First the sand and then the rock. Kind of the same effect, doesn't it? Yeah, let's first just paint the whole thing canyon, and then after that we can kind of touch it up. This is definitely a good starting point, I would say. Just all over the bloody place. At least it immediately looks a lot more like the vibe we're looking for, so that's good. Let's just stretch it out all across this back section here and over the rocks on the edge. See, that is crazy smooth. It looks interesting, and especially from afar, it's a nice splash of color. It's nice and different, but it's way too clean. Okay, then we shall work on the transition. So over here we have whatever the hell that is. We have some grass and some rock. I reckon we put some rock on the edges here and have that slowly fade out into that canyon kind of effect. It's gonna be interesting. We need some more trees here probably, but that's a problem for later. What I do know is all the grass needs to be gone here, so that is for now the most important thing. Let's grab a big brush and add some rough rock to this. I really think this is the way to go. Maybe, however, we can even add some sand on that, even less intensity, and then just paint over it. It does get rid of the redness, but I feel like now it's a bit too sandy. It's decent, it's just not very even. But yeah, it's definitely gonna have to be a mix between multiple textures, multiple terrain styles. So I'm just gonna paint all of this so it looks a bit more natural by just dapping here and there with the sand texture on top. For the surface, this is decent. We don't need much rock for the surface, so I think I'm gonna stick with this. Not too bad. It's a decent luminosity as well. Now, while I do this, let me just explain a little bit what my idea is at first. I definitely want to have multiple Indiana Jones movies in here, but most importantly, the Temple of Doom, again, like the original movie park, which in this one is going to be a full dark ride or dark roller coaster that has outside parts, with much more actual rooms of the Temple of Doom. That will, of course, be one of those minecart train coasters that kind of swings around. It looks pretty much identical to the minecarts in the actual Temple of Doom, so that's perfect. The entrance will be above ground in the Pankot Palace, of course, just like the movie. The remaining land above ground is going to be other structures like some gyro bits, maybe. Maybe the giant German plane could be a cool landmark. And also add some flat rides to that, honestly. We'll just see how else we're gonna decorate this. Dude, this is already so much better. So much more natural. You just really need that contrast in here to make it work. Because look, just a little bit of this already does so much. That is crazy. I love that. So yeah, just like this, we're gonna have to add some rocky parts to this canyon. Make it a bit more 3D, a bit more dynamic. No. Not dynamic. Just a bit more random, you know what I mean? Here you go. That has such a cool effect, dude. Especially around the base, I feel like we can add some more. The lower you go, the less sand, I think, should be present. And of course, we can add some definition by just kind of adjusting the shaping a little bit more, which also in turn adds some other textures sometimes. For example, if you put this on sampled, you can just paint here and spread that over to the other areas, which can have really cool effects. However, first of all, this edge has to be really nice and sharp. There you go. Oh, yes. Satisfying as heck. I just love doing nature and terrain and trees and vegetation. It's so mindful in a way, just creating nature. Especially here, you can really see the nice effect it has. The vertical areas being a bit more rocky, the horizontal areas being nice and sandy. It is just beautiful, isn't it? And this has to nicely transition into the canyon, which is going to be a little bit tricky, but I think we can make it work. What I just thought of as well, what if we just add a sort of nature bridge between these two bits here? I reckon that could be pretty freaking cool. It's gonna look very strange at first, but let me just try and oh god, let me just try and see what I can do here. Definitely has to be a lot thicker, that's for sure. Here you go, and then we simply have to make that nice and flat at the top again, just to make it look a little bit more sleek. And you guessed it, the bottom has to be nice and rocky, like this. That's spreading a little bit towards the sides as well. And then at the very top, it has to be nice and sandy, but it kind of already is. So that should be fine. There you go. That's nice. So then what shall we do? I think actually it's pretty much time to begin the first path layouts. Now over here we've got this path which stops over here. However, I don't actually know yet where we're gonna go. Actually, I forgot something. First we need to make sure there's sand near the water here, just on the edges. Here you go. That's definitely a bit more accurate. How could I forget, ladies and gentlemen? We need sand. Okay. Then I just changed my mind. I think we should first make the layout for the coaster, because that way we know where the path can go without interfering with the track. So let's go ahead to coasters. And then we have to find which one it was. I think this. Yes, the swaying mine train. As you can see, these trains look exactly like mine carts, and very, very similar to the ones from the movie. So this is pretty much just the perfect option to use for the Temple of Doom. The station itself actually has to be underground. The queue begins above ground, but the station is going to be underground. Only question is, where? I have absolutely no idea yet what this will look like. So what we can do is put the temple, like the palace, in the center here and everything else around. It could be pretty cool. So that's the entrance then, with maybe like a restaurant inside, I don't know. Meaning this should be somewhere in the ground. Maybe it would have been better. I think what I should do first is create a hole somewhere over here, and then inside of that, make the whole inside of this hollow. So I don't have to build the whole thing in the ground. That's not very nice, is it? Just like this, I'll open up the entire inside of this canyon, this mountain. And this is going to be tricky because I don't know how far this extends. I don't even know which side that is. Back. So yeah, we can go very, very far towards the back here. Just like this, we can go nice and quick. And just for reference, how far up can we go? Whoa! Oh, really far. Okay. We can definitely make this a bit higher then. Even further. We can just see how far we can push it. And then once we reach the end, we'll just stop. We can also go down pretty far, which we definitely need because I think this might be a pretty big dark coaster, actually. So let me just make sure we have enough room to actually build that. And for some convenience, I'll just make the ground in here nice and flat. So, I don't know why, just feels nice. Make sure we have at least something that is level for reference. This is gonna look hella weird. We just trust the process, I guess. Okay, so now we have a giant hole inside of this canyon. Oh, that's bright. So yes, I don't actually know how far that stretches out, but it's pretty far, I think. So yes, given the fact that the temple or the palace will be above this hole-ish, doesn't really matter yet, to be fair. But let's then go and grab the coaster and see where we're gonna put that. So it shouldn't be too far down, probably about this high and not directly below, because we definitely need some rooms you actually walk through before you get to the station. So let's put this over here instead, I think. Right? Okay, and then the fun thing begins. Building the actual track. What's this? H-beam styled standard track? Oh, we have multiple different tracks. That's cool. I mean, this is way nicer. Okay, let's have a look. First, we're gonna go straight for just a little bit. Probably like that. Actually, I first need to know what part of the Temple of Doom this is. I reckon this is like the room where Indy is looking at the Temple of Doom. So not the actual temple itself yet. That you will see. You just go down here at a very weird little angle. And then I think right here, you enter the actual Temple of Doom. So you go straight for just a little bit, and then maybe a drop starts. However, how exactly that'll look, I need to think of first. Actually, wait, I might have an idea. What if you first have a tiny little pre-drop like this, and then you drop into the lava part, like the fire part of the temple. So basically this, and then you just have to imagine this being that kind of lava pit. I think that might just work. And that could then be where the ride really starts. Look, you kind of go right, and then you begin with the whole zigzag minecart sequence. I don't know if this will even be nice, but time will have to tell. At least let's have a look what this looks like, because I don't even know how this really functions. Nice and slow. Very good. Very nice. It's a bit disorienting, but that's not too bad. Then here you enter the big Temple of Doom. Tiny little drop, and then whee! Okay, that is horrendous, but the idea is good. Let's already smooth this out a little bit as well, so it's slightly better already, I think. I suppose let's have another look. Everything after this part now has to be smooth. Yeah, that's a lot better. In fact, why don't we do the opposite? Like this. Because after all, it is... Oh. Oh, God. The carts do tilt, though, right? So if we do this, what even happens? Doesn't it just go straight anyway? Let's try. Let's see what happens. Look, it does this. That is actually really cool and really interesting. I like that. So yeah, after that, you just go down this tiny drop, and then... Whee! So this is terrible, but you get the idea. That's actually pretty cool. And I mean, in that case, it doesn't really matter which side we choose. Both will work. Do you reckon this works? It's a very tight little thing. You can see what happens. Look, this is such a unique coaster. I absolutely love this. So we can have some rocks on the side here. And then over here, you just flip back to the regular. Oh, this is really cool. I love this coaster, actually. Look, and then you drop down into the Temple of Doom. Yes, I like that. This is such a unique track. Absolutely love it. The only thing is, if you look at this from the bumper, you're gonna go like this. So you don't really get the accurate... If you get the person POV, it's fine. But that obviously is a lot more rough. As you can tell, that's really cool. Wow, this is really cool. I feel like this might actually become the coolest ride in this park. I'm not sure, but it could be. Look at that. Hell yeah. Oh, this has potential. So then it's going to come down to creating a bit of a layout, which I won't fully record because, as you know, as usual, that's really not that interesting to watch because it's really, for me, a giant big guess as well. I'm just really curious to see the kind of things this coaster can do because, for example, if you overbank it like this, the train might actually not be overbanked. So this is going to create some really interesting layout designs, I think. Anyway, then here above, I think there could be a part where you go over the Temple of Doom. I'm not sure if you'll actually see this. Oh, I don't even think it actually makes it up that first hill. Let's have a look. So you go down here. Ignore the roughness, by the way. No, you don't make that. Okay, well, guys, I will have a crack at this and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I did change a few things up. Pretty much. The layout is completely different from what it was before, but it is pretty sweet. We've got 4 trains running on it right now. It does halt in one spot over there because of the block breaks. However, I will actually utilize that for the story of the coaster. As you can see here, when it goes up, it pauses for a minute because the other train hasn't cleared the station yet. But I'm gonna do some cool trigger stuff with that and on-ride audio, of course, to make that into something pretty sweet and fun to enhance the ride experience. Here's a quick POV of the coaster so you know what I'm talking about. So that is the layout right now. It's very boring so far, I know. Obviously, this right here is where the actual Temple of Doom is going to be, so you don't actually start there, you end there. Or well, it's halfway through actually. That's gonna look very cool. At the end here, this will be a very cool scene where you go around it, a giant sort of tunnel, or I don't know, something cool. And then you make your way back to this station here. So pretty cool. I cannot wait to see what this will look like. For today though, I will still do a few things. For example, the coloring of this coaster. I don't know why this is yellow. We definitely don't want that to be yellow instead. Let's go with brown, very desaturated brown. We can always change it later, but for now let's do something like this. The track and the station are also a bluish tone, which we definitely don't want either. Let's go with metal. And then also there's the train itself, which I don't think we can change up too much. For example, the gold, I think, will always stay gold. Ideally, you'd want that to be metal or copper, but I think this will have to do. Things we can change are the seats, so let's go for just black, gray-ish. The most neutral thing we can do. So there you go. Already a bit better. Then I guess for today, since this has taken pretty damn long, that is it. I am beyond excited as to where this whole project will go from here, because this is very ambitious as always. However, I think this could turn out really sweet, and I guess we'll find out in the next episodes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell not to miss a single future video, and then I hope I'll see you in the next one.